Rob, there was a recent story in the news about Jaguar Land Rover. This didn't just affect the company, but it actually affected the GDP of the United Kingdom. This is a very different story about ransomware, isn't it?
Anything that impacts an entire country's GDP in a single event is just mind-blowing.
Yes.
It really does show that cyber risk is not just cyber. It's not just something that can affect your company, my company, Annie's company. It's something that is literally macroeconomic.
The U.S. government's advice to companies in the U.S. was building out a zero trust architecture. They actually said there should be leadership at the government level, yes?
Oh, very much so. Interesting fact is our second largest market country-wise is Australia. Mm-hmm. And it was because of a piece of legislation in Australia called the Essential 8. So Essential 8 pretty much boils down a bunch of different things that are best practices from a security perspective and basically tells people, look, these are the 8 things that you need to do. The US, when you mentioned the zero trust mandate, it was pretty much anything to do with the federal government. Probably my favorite part of that, apart from saying, hey, everybody, you should do zero trust, was actually defined what zero trust is. So they literally said, look, these are the principles that you should adhere to as part of this. And that was incredibly useful.
What are the other things, besides just the government, and I don't know what your relationships with insurance companies are, but that needle is moving as well. If you want cyber insurance, you have to prove certain controls are in place.
Yeah, I had a really interesting conversation about a year and a half ago with a very large insurer. It was at an event in Dublin in Ireland. And they told me that there was one particular event in France. The payout, cyber insurance wise, for that event was bigger than the total of premiums that the cyber insurance industry had received. So one event was more than they'd taken in. And what they basically said to me is it's not now going to be a case of how much cyber insurance is going to cost. It's more a case of convincing the cyber insurance company to insure you.
Right.
So it's more likely to be that you just won't get considered for insurance than you will to pay more and more and more for it. I mean, obviously, in some cases, people are paying more for it. But again, the more you can do to demonstrate that you take these things seriously, that you've actually take steps to ensure that it doesn't happen to your organization, the more likely you are to be able to get insurance, and vice versa. If you don't care about cyber and you're running a 15-year-old version of Symantec, then the reality is you ain't going to get insurance.
Rob and I are going to be doing a live recording of the CISO series podcast at Zero Trust World 2026. We did it this year, earlier in 2025. We're doing it again. We're going to be on stage. So if you have never been to Zero Trust World, or you've never also seen the CISO series live on stage, here's your opportunity. We're going to put a link to that event in the show notes, but also to learn more about Zero Trust architecture and how you can build out your program, go to ThreatLocker site. Here's the website here. Go to threatlocker.com/CISO. Add the /CISO, easiest way to let them know that you heard about them from the CISO series, threatlocker.com/CISO.